Good evening. We'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Columbus Municipal School Board on July the 8th, 2014. We do have a quorum established here from the Columbus Municipal School Board. The next item on our agenda is to adopt the agenda. Board, this requires an action. It has been motioned by Mr. Lassenheiser. Is there a second? Second. It's been seconded by Mr. Lewis. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. It is unanimous.
On behalf of the Mayor and City Council, I would like to take this opportunity to call this meeting to order. And at this time, we need to establish a quorum. We do have a quorum of 4 members. We have one member who's Councilman Gavin. Councilman of Ward 6 is out of town. The first Councilman Gene Taylor, I have no idea. So at this time, gentlemen, I need to entertain a motion to adopt the agenda. We have a motion by Councilman Kareem, second by Councilman Turner to adopt the agenda. Discussion, all in favor? The issue unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, we'd like to say welcome to the City Council. Thank you for taking us up on our offer to come and sit down and share with us so that we can have a dialogue and talk about things that are taking place in the district and to maybe brainstorm some ideas about what we can do together as two entities so that we can increase student achievement here with our students in the Columbus Municipal School District. So we welcome you and we thank you for coming. The first thing that we want to talk about tonight is that of our upcoming budget, and Mrs. McGar, our district business manager, will provide some information for that.
Good evening. Welcome to the City Council. We do have a public budget hearing Friday morning at 8:30 that we would like to invite each of you to. And I did provide you with our ad valorem tax request for 2014-2015. And I will just say a little bit about that. Our ad valorem tax request for operations is $10,191,260. And our ad valorem tax request for debt service is $2,846,464. That is, our total ad valorem tax request is $13,037,724. That is a decrease of $195,438 from the prior year request. And I've also included in the packet that you received the shortfall escrow calculation. We are showing an escrow, so that amount of $121,104 that is on page 2 is taken out of the ad valorem request that we are giving to you. On page 3, I have detailed what each of the debt service requirements are. The 3-mil note, $206,430 is needed to pay that. Shortfall note, $234,819. The qualified zone academy bond, $252,000, and our general obligation bonds, $2,153,215. And then on page 4 is just a comparison with the request from the prior year. Are there any questions? And we will go in depth on the budget at the public budget hearing on Friday morning.
Mr. Mayor, if there aren't any questions from the City Council, I yield the microphone to you for any questions that the Council may have of this board.
Thank you, Mrs. Verdier. On behalf of the Mayor and the City Council, we would just like to thank you and the board for setting up this meeting and giving us the opportunity to just come and share some concerns and issues that we have concerning the operation and the finances. By no means are we here. We want this clarified to where we're here to try to dictate or micromanage the board. But that's not our job. Our job is just to appoint and to work with the school board for the betterment of the school district and the kids within the district. So there were some questions that was emailed to the board from some of the council members, and the school board emailed some questions to the mayor and the city council. So at this time, I'll just open the floor to the council members, questions that you have concerning the operation, finance, or whatever concerns that you have at this time. Council.
I would like to make one announcement. If you would please speak into the microphone so that it can be picked up.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I too want to take this time to thank you, President, Madam President, and the school board for giving us the opportunity to come together and collaborate and talk and see what we can do to not only help the district but also help the city. You know, my question that I have, what can we do as a collective body to make this the best district possible? What can the community do? I've been in a couple of meetings where ministers, civic leaders have asked, you know, what participation can they have to help the district? And that question is open to the floor. And by the way, I want to piggyback off the mayor. This is by no means trying to dictate or micromanage. Whether we realize it or not, we're all joined at the hip. And whatever we can do makes both bodies better. And I believe that my colleagues here, we're only here to see what we can do to make the district better as well as the city better. And but I put that question on the floor. What can the community do as well as leaders in the community to help the district?
Board, would anybody like to go, Mr. Weissnizer?
Okay, again, let me express my personal appreciation to you gentlemen for coming. I think there are a number of things that could be done. Number one, encourage the parents, encourage the grandparents of students in our school district to take advantage of their opportunities, to really apply themselves and to realize that the decisions that they make today are going to impact their lives for many years to come. And as you know, I work with young people and have for many, many years. And it's just so important for young people to realize, as I said, that they do need to take advantage of these opportunities. We have a lot of opportunities here at CMSD. We have some very talented teachers and administrators who are working tirelessly on behalf of our young people. So I think the first thing to do is for those of you who know people in the community that knows people that have children in our school district, just tell them to take advantage of all the opportunities that are available to study, to do their homework, and to be responsible for getting the job done from their perspective. Another thing I think is just so important, and this is something that's very near and dear to my heart because I do it on a daily basis in our school system, and that is to work with young people on their reading. Literacy is critically important to student achievement, and if we're going to move this school district forward, we need to have good readers at our schools. And it's just so important to read to young people, to have them read back, to be sure that they understand the story. And I think that if we could get a lot of people in Columbus reading to our young people and having them read to us, I think we can really transform it. So I just love to do that. It's one of the great joys of my heart to go into the schools and read to kids and read with kids on a daily basis. So I guess, as I said, what I'm saying is let's take advantage of our opportunities, let's apply ourselves, but let's do everything that we can. And Mr. Box and I are on the First Book Board of Directors here in Lowndes County. And we go to daycare centers, we go to schools, primarily elementary schools, to work with young people to distribute books. But I think that literacy is the key for student achievement, in my opinion.
My question will be a twofold question. First part is, will there be a millage decrease considered? And the second part, will there be a shortfall this year?
We are not going to have a shortfall. As you can see on page 2, we are actually having a escrow, and so that is figured into the ad valorem tax request. And what was your other question?
Will there be a millage decrease in the city?
Well, we have, since we do not set the millage, you know, we have requested a decrease of $195,000.
Thank you.
Board, I know that there were questions that we had as well, and I guess the first question will come from Mrs. Fisher.
Again, I'd like to thank each one of you for coming tonight and for setting the tone for this city, that this is not an adversarial get-together, that it is a get-together to share information, to answer both some of the questions that you've posed as well as some of those that we have. One of the questions that we have is regarding the opportunities for the district, the school district, to get grants, receive grants, apply for grants. So to that end, is the city willing to partner with the Columbus Municipal School District for appropriate grant proposals where possible? And it's a twofold question. That's the first one. The second is for the expertise and the staff that you have, are you willing to make that accessible to the school district if possible? Thank you.
To answer your question, yes, we are. And the person that handles most of our grants is our city planner, which is Ms. Christina Berry, along with Mr. Irby. But there are all different types of grants that are posted, whether they're federal grants or state grants. All we ask you to do is just give us a call, and we'll be glad to share any information that we have or work together from a partnership standpoint.
Good evening. I want to apologize for my tardiness of being late. I had another function that I was attending. My question is, what being done to put merit figures into our school district? Not that the females have not done an awesome job, but something that our young men will be able to look up to as a male.
I think the question is, what can be done, or what is the district doing to increase the number of male teachers in the district?
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. We have made a concerted effort to attract and retain the most highly qualified staff members possible. We do have recruiting trips that we attend on a yearly basis at Mississippi State, at MUW, and also this year we reached out to Jackson State and attended their fair there. We also post all of our jobs online, and when it comes to coaching, we do put those on the MHSAA website to make sure that we attract the people that are out there that would like to come to this great city of Columbus. Do keep in mind that we do have a responsibility to hire the most qualified applicant possible and put the best person in the classroom, but we do realize that there is some value with having the male role models in the classroom, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure we have the best person in the classroom.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon. Our next question will come from Mr. Spears.
Thank you all for being here tonight. My question is something I've heard echoed time and time again as I was about to join the board, as well as being on the board, from the tax assessor's office, the mayor's office, and other various councilmen, as well as people throughout the city. You know, looking at this year, our decrease will be about $195,000 of our request. Looking forward into the 2015, the 2016 school year, paying off debts and things that we do take care of this year, it appears from all estimates that we could see about an $850,000 decrease in our request. And so hearing the echoes time and time again, it's my question to the board and the council, to the city council, is that as the school district, which is really in control of tax reform in the city, as these decreases happen, will those translate into savings or, of course, less taxes for those businesses and individuals within the community? Will they be passed on down and not stopped at the next level and go on through to the taxpayers of the city?
Well, to answer your question, at the present time, it's a big difference and big disparity between the millage between the city of Columbus and the school board, whereas the city is 40.13 and the school board is 65.87. Now, by you all reducing your request, that will help the taxpayers significantly. But as far as asking the question, how will be passed on down by you all reducing your request, that will be a help. But as far as from the city standpoint, at the present time, from a financial standpoint, we will not be reducing our millage at the present time. Now, maybe in the future, yay, but at the present time, no. Council, you can chime in if there's something you'd like to add to it.
I think you answered it correctly.
No, President,
Mrs. Spears?
clarification. Just to make sure I understand correctly, so that as next year, as this year, as well as next year, as the amounts continue to go down from our side, then that will translate as less taxes that the taxpayers here in the city will have to incur.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Councilman Box, you have a question?
I'd like to thank you all for having us here tonight and allow us to come and talk to you. What seems to me to have developed over the last several years has been an adversarial relationship between the school board and the city council. I don't actually believe that it's here, but that's what's perceived in this community, is that we're divided and that we're not together, and that's not good. I think this all started several years ago when we requested a sit-down meeting with you over some concerns that we saw developing in the budget, and we're pretty much told, hey, butt out of our business, that all you do is just appoint us, and we're going to take care of things. And that sort of stopped any effort on our part to sit down with you. And what I want to see us do is open those lines of communication. Even though we're not regulating, we want to sit down with you and work with you as partners, because we know, all of the city councilmen know, that one of the most important things for bringing industry, retail, we go to conferences and they tell us, hey, it's schools. It's schools, it's quality of life. And if we can't get our schools headed in the right direction, from on grade level, on reading, and all these other things, we can plant all the flowers, do all the other stuff that we want to do, people are still not going to take a look at us. So what I want to do is I want to see us get together. I'd like to see us, out of this meeting tonight, agree to maybe meet at least quarterly for breakfast or something like that. We can be an informal meeting where we can throw out ideas and talk with one another, not talk down to one another, not try to find problems, but try to find solutions to the problems. And I think if that one thing can come out of this meeting, it would be very good for our community. But I do thank you for letting us come tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Box. And the board, too, agrees that we cannot create this ideal educational environment by ourselves. The district cannot do that. It will require us partnering with other entities throughout the city. And one of the major entities in this city is that of the local city government. And so I don't see why we would not want to have open lines of communication so that we can understand how we can best serve and service one another. So thank you for those comments. Mr. Mayor, I think the next question comes from you, from your board.
Councilman Turner?
Thank y'all for having us. Thank y'all for coming out. I have a question about, piggyback off Mr. Box about the grades of the city schools. What is it that the council could do to assist y'all in raising the grade? Or do y'all have a plan to make the grade go higher?
So if I understand the question correctly, it's what is it that we are planning to do, or what are our plans in terms of increasing student achievement
Right.
in the district? Board, is there anybody who would like to take a stab at that question? Mr. Spears?
One thing is that, I truly believe that as we go into August and September, when the embargo is lifted, that the school district will, come up a grade from where it's currently at. And while C is not where long-term we wish to reside, it is certainly a step in the right direction. One thing that, I would feel, and I think it was a question that was asked earlier about, community and different things, is really be an additional voice, be an additional, medium of communication. A lot of times, I see and hear different things communicated, whether it be through churches or other civic organizations, the city council. Encourage individuals about different things when you have the opportunity to do so. Don't remain silent and wait till the next time to something is confrontational or something. Just really at all times be that fluid movement of information from whether it be the school board or school administration and others into the community, and not picking sides, but really just trying to communicate information, let everyone, make up their mind as to how that they can better serve, whether it's reading, whether it's come to the school board meetings, whether it be come to sporting events, whatever it is that they can play an active role in this school district being united, as well as throughout the community, just be that partner in progress with the district.
And I think another thing that would be beneficial is for our students to kind of unlearn what it means to receive an education, so that they unlearn that getting an education does not simply stop inside of the walls of a school. It does not. And so if we can hear that type of conversation happening among our local leaders, I think that would be good for our students, because they understand there is a degree of learning that takes place even with the business that you're conducting for the city. And so if we can start to make that a part of our every conversation, then I think that it will help our kids to understand that everything that we do is focused around education. And that education does not just start and stop in our school buildings, but it's a part of what we do every day, and it's a part of our lives. And so if you can help us to share that information throughout the community, I think that would be beneficial.
Madam President, if I may, one of the things that I've made mention to Mr. Shannon is getting more pastors involved inside the school. Maybe it might be a program where we can start Pastors on Patrol, where they just walk through the school. And you would be surprised the difference that possibly could make if a student can see their pastor or their parents' pastor walk through the school. It might change their whole behavior for that particular day. That is the community involvement that I'm asking for some guidance, because everybody is asking, what do we need to do, because we want to be involved in the changing of the district. I think Councilman Turner asked a question about the grades. Do we know, as of right now, are we going up? I think right now the letter is a D. Do we foresee us going to the C and moving upward? That's a question that I'm putting on the table, or just piggybacking off of Mr. Spears.
I think Mr. Spears, that's what he stated.
Sure, and the only thing is that it's an assumption based off the reports that teachers have made to us, administrators, principals have made to us throughout the year, that they set goals in August, September, and then they've been coming back in earlier part of this year, giving us reports on progress as to where they kind of target we should fall. Obviously, we won't know for certain until we get into the August time frame when they start releasing the scores back to the school, and then I think it'd be September before the embargo is lifted, and everyone at that point will know where we stand. And of course, then we'll know whether we've moved up a grade or not. But I feel optimistic based off of the projections and things that we've seen, the testing throughout the year as to how things are, that we should see some progress in that respect.
Thank you.
I think our next question will come from Mr. Lewis.
Good afternoon, and I thank y'all for coming to our meeting. As the city recruits new industries and businesses, how can you encourage those industries and businesses to invest in our school district?
Most of the time, Mr. Lewis, to answer your question, that is done through the realtors and through the Lyons County Development Link. I mean, we can be, from the mayor and city council standpoint, of support, but from the retail development standpoint, economic development standpoint, basically that needs to be a partnership between the mayor and city council and the school board and the link and the realtors within the city of Columbus.
Mr. Mayor, just to touch on what he said, y'all used to have a program in the public schools called Partners in Progress. Is that still in existence, or do y'all do it anymore?
I think it would probably be it could be more effective. And I think that's the basis for Mr. Lewis's question, is that we are looking for business partners to come in and to work with our students and to help model for our students different career options. So yes, the program is still in existence.
It used to be a great program.
Right.
Another area that I mentioned there would be, we have a tremendous number of retired teachers and retired administrators that live in this community. My wife taught for many years, my sister and a lot of my family have been in education. To my knowledge, once they leave, we don't ever tap into their knowledge and abilities. And I think maybe something we could do in that regard would be to have some type of a meeting with them just to seek their input, because they're very knowledgeable over many years with our school system. So
the board is right now, Mr. Lyons and Mr. Lewis, they're working on a policy that we have for our community advisory committee, and so I'm sure that would be something that we can consider and take up and see if there are any retired teachers or professionals who may have retired and are living here in Columbus who would like to participate on that committee. Next question comes from the council.
Councilor Green.
Mr. Mayor, Madam President, I have two questions, if I may. While I have the mic, I'm going to have to take advantage of this. The number one question is, when I was in the Columbus Municipal School District, we had a great relationship with the police department. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but the DARE program was something where we knew the police officers when we left the four walls or the confinements of the school. When we went to the parks, we knew those particular officers. What is the school board's position on partnering up with the city, particularly the police department, and getting them back involved in the education system of our children? Question one.
With regard to the DARE program, I think that it does fit in line with our wellness and safety policies within the district. So I would have to go back and review that policy to really understand the whole the policy in its entirety, but I don't foresee any reason why we wouldn't want to be able to have a program like that. I do know as recent as a few years ago at Franklin Academy, there was some interaction with the DARE program. So I believe that it's still in existence, but we would have to check our policy and see where does that fit in with everything else that we are proposing within the district with regard to wellness and safety. Board, does anybody else have something to add?
If I remember correctly, the DARE program came out of federal funding, and it was my understanding is while the funding was in existence, that was one of the main drivers for integrating the program into school systems. And then when that dried up, I don't know if the state got on board, and so of course it really fell to the local districts to fund programs and do those type of officers that would come in and do different things with the program. And I'll have to check my facts, but I believe that's kind of how things got started and fizzled out over time. And I know in discussions that the board had, as well as individuals with former leaders of the district, to possibly make that a reality. And there was, talk about, well, we'll just get up with the local, department and see, what they can do as far as being on campus, doing different things. And it never really made it past that discussion. And so, I think that it would be great to have that movement throughout the school, so it wouldn't be that, okay, there's a crisis going on and there's a patrol car on a campus and different things. But obviously it would go back to, if going back to your question about the DARE program, is seeing exactly how the funding structure is now to see if it's feasible for the district to do, as well as what might be out there from the feds or the state to help facilitate funding those type of programs in the district.
And DARE might not even be the program of today. It might be another program with the same acronyms, but similar in design as far as the program is concerned. But I think it will give the students a chance to have a relationship with the police department, not just in a time of crisis, as you just stated, but have a relationship with them when they leave school. My second question is the bowl. The Magnolia Bowl is located in the city. It has become an eyesore. I know that the city owns the property. I know you, Mr. Spears, have been doing some work prior to your appointment on the board. My question to the school board, will they be willing to partner or even give that piece of property to the city for future developments? I think it has a lot of potential, and I think those are one of those entities where we could do some good for the entire city if we work together.
Now, if I remember correctly, because it has been something I've worked with many people in community organizations over time, some of the problems as far as giving it, and I may be wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it is 16th section land, and on top of that, the bowl itself is managed by the Mississippi Department of Archives. They have a hand in how things are transformed there at the bowl. I concur that it is something, spending many hours out there with people and trying to restore it, do the best we could, that there needs to be some community effort to push forward something to, whether it be develop businesses there or something just for the community, whether it work with MDOT, other entities, legislators, to find a way to make it a useful space for the citizens of Columbus, as well as those that may come in for other reasons into the city, rather than, as I drove by the other day and to see graffiti painted at the top of it. It was very disheartening to see that happen, and really feel paralyzed that nothing is really being done about it.
Thank you, Mr. Spears. Mr. Licenhizer has the next question.
Could I ask Mr. Dunn just to comment on the ability, if any, of the school district to give the property away? I know we've had some discussion about it in the past, but my understanding is the same. But could Mr. Dunn just go ahead and comment on the legalities of that, please?
Okay. Yes, the property cannot be given away. It is 16th section land, and title to the property is in the trustees. It was never leased. Therefore, it's not affected by the federal lawsuit where you've got property that was leased and has been continuously under lease. You've got the 99-year renewable forever provision and the federal lawsuit that said that was the same as, similar to fee simple title, and all you got to do is continue to pay the lease. This was never leased. It's part of the school district, has always been part of the school district, most of it, a good bit of it at least. But it has to be leased under the guidelines of the Mississippi Secretary of State. And therefore, there are certain things you have to go about to do that. It has to be appraised. And then you've got to have a lease from the school district for fair market value.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Ms. Lightsneiser,
Yeah, I'd like to ask an infrastructure question now. And my question is, can the city ensure the school district the upkeep and/or upgrade of infrastructure around areas where our schools are located? If there is a critical need, can we ensure that that becomes a priority to the city of Columbus?
I'll let each councilman address that issue since it's a school located in each councilman district concerning the maintenance and upkeep from the infrastructure standpoint.
Mr. Dunn and Mr. Lowe, before we move to that question, I really didn't get a clear answer on the bowl because the Magnolia Bowl is located in the ward that I represent, and it's just because it might be some red tape or a lot of bureaucracy that we have to go through to remediate it. We can't just stop there and just say we're not going to do anything with it. So I'm hoping that before we move to the next question, that it's some dialogue to help facilitate what direction we need to go in to kind of move the Magnolia Bowl along and get some kind of work. You know, I understand the 16th section, and I understand all of that, but we still need some direction on where we need to go to get it remediated before we go to the next question.
Councilman, let me just say, make a few more comments concerning this. Right now, the city, through our planner, Ms. Christina Berry, along with our engineering firm, Neil Schaefer, are working with the school district using money that we received from the Brownfield grant, which is $400,000, to find out first whether or not there are any contaminants that are in the soil first before we proceed further. And we should receive those results back by August the 14th. That's my understanding.
No, I appreciate that, Mayor. And then after that, we go forward over it.
did that answer your question, Councilman Green?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Liza, to answer your question, we already have ordinances for like overgrown lots, dilapidated home. So, you know, we can't be everywhere at one time. If that could be pointed out to us, and we could address that situation at that time.
A couple of schools in my ward. I think the city's done a pretty good job with trying to keep the properties up around there. There are some concerns. We are, as Mr. Dunn will tell you, the city is dictated by state law. Mr. Attorneys might want to address this because he spends a lot of his time addressing the overgrown lots and dilapidated houses. State law is awful clear on the procedures that we have to go through before we can condemn property or go on the property to clean it. And if you visited any of our city council meetings, we spend a large amount of time every Tuesday night, every other Tuesday night, addressing this issue. And it's of concern to us, but I assure you that this council, I know, wants to keep all that property in all the neighborhoods, but especially around our schools, looking good because we know how important that is. So I guess that's the best I can do with that.
Madam President, what are we doing at this point to help deter the bomb threats throughout the district, and what can we do better as a team?
During the time of the bomb threats, the school district did create a team with the emergency management organization so that we could come together and figure out a collective policy, standard operating procedures for addressing those types of emergencies. I do know that we held one meeting. I don't know that we followed up yet with another meeting, but I do know that there are policies that we put in place within the district. There are new rules that are taking place within our schools. to ensure that students don't have access to different areas of the school so that those threats become imminent. So we are taking precautions. We are making sure that our policies are in place to prevent that. But even if something like that should happen, we are taking other steps and measures to make sure that we have procedures in place for addressing those and making sure that we can respond timely and that all of our students are safe and that all of our staff is safe.
Those rules will be in each household, is that correct?
Yes.
Through the handbook.
Through the student handbook that they will take home.
Thank you.
The next question will come from me. I sat in on one of your your meetings earlier this year, and I noticed what Cable One, you renegotiated the contract with Cable One, and that there was a public access channel that was being made available to the City Council for airing your meetings. And I wanted to know if that might be made available to the school district so that we can air our meetings. We do have parents who work and can't make our meetings, and so that would be a good service to the stakeholders in our community. Also, in addition to airing our meetings, we'd like to be able to air some of the maybe the programs that our students put on, the productions that they have, if there is space and time on that network to allow us to do that.
We talked about that earlier today in one of the meetings that we had. From my understanding, that the school board have a standing time on Mondays to have the school board meeting viewed on cable.
Well, that's new news. Did anybody else know that? It's Ms. Tippett says that it's on Wednesdays. Okay, on Wednesdays at 7. Okay, so we do have the capability to record here, and then we do have access. Okay, and then to do that, so that's good. If there's a need for any time outside of that,
We would do pretty much anything that the school board would need for us to do, because y'all serve the people that we represent, or the children of the people that we represent. So we would be willing, I'm just speaking on my behalf, to do pretty much anything the school board needs from the council.
okay, thank you.
Madam President, clarification, 7 p.m. or a.m.?
Is it 7 p.m. or 7 a.m.? 7 p.m.?
Madam President,
Yes.
now I don't know how much time you're going to need to view those, that you're going to need for the school board meeting now. I mean, I've been at a couple, it's been some marathon meetings now. I don't know, are we going to have enough disk space for the, no, just whatever we have to do to facilitate that. I think it'll be really good for parents to not only if they miss that meeting, but if they replay it to see what went on during the meeting. So
I think it's always great to be able to get firsthand knowledge and information of the business that is taking place within our school district meetings, and also to be able to highlight the achievements of our students. I think that would be great for our community, and really we probably should make sure that we communicate that to the community, that they know that that is available and that it's taking place at that time during the week. I think the next question comes from you.
I have $1 million question. Okay, you know, there's a lot of talk about charter schools, and I want to know, how do school board feel about charter schools? How would that affect Columbus public schools, well, Columbus school system, either negative or positive? Is there an advantage or a disadvantage for having a charter school here?
Well, to be honest with you, Councilman Turner, our focus right now is on the Columbus Municipal School District and our students, and making sure that our students are achieving at the levels that we would never even have to consider having a charter school. We want to make sure that the Columbus Municipal School District is the first choice for parents when they consider educating their kids in this area. So that is our focus.
Madam President, if I might
Ms.
say,
Spears?
with respect to, charter schools, personally, I think competition makes everyone stronger and leaner. Obviously, if there's a system that comes into Columbus that has the infrastructure for success, that has the ability and track record to show how they would be able to cultivate an educational environment for strengthening, whether it be curriculum or whether it be test scores or whatever it is that their emphasis may be, to get students moving forward in the right direction. I don't necessarily see that as being a negative to the district. If anything, it will help us be stronger in the sense that we'll be more fiscally sound in the way that we execute decisions when it comes to the monetary side of it. Also, I think that it would be, and just because I've toured different areas that have charter schools, if we could have fluid communication between the person or individuals that are doing the charter school that are here in Columbus, because there are certain functions within their system that they, in other areas, California, Illinois, that they actually use their local system to administer, whether it be payroll or busing and whatever have. So there could be a great cooperation effort there. But I think that it has to be an infrastructure in place that would allow that to happen, rather than just coming in to compete.
I think the next question comes from you, Mr. Spears.
And I believe we touched on this just a little bit earlier, and it's with respect to 16th section land. And David, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was my understanding that the mayor and city council are the actual trustees for the land, even though it's owned by us, that they are responsible for, from a discussion that we've had before.
They are responsible for all the leases
Right.
that have left
The district.
And they're out there that are under management.
Sure.
And under leases, but not for the Magnolia Bowl.
No, and I understand that, and I just wanted to clarify for everyone here is that.
And other properties where you've had a tax sale.
Sure.
They've come back in, and you're the managers of those properties also now.
So just to put that into perspective, and because I've tried to read through as much as I could of the federal lawsuit that went through years ago regarding the 16th section land, and also from my analysis of the way that things have been partially sold and the way it was recorded on the tax books, that it has become a very problematic issue. And one thing that I believe is that for the district to be more financially stronger, it's that it has to generate its own revenue in some way. And for it to generate revenue, one of the key things is, just for that, other districts in Jefferson County have mineral rights and different things. Well, that's not something we have here. But what is it that the city council can work with the school board on these different 16th section properties to maybe talk and lobby legislators and also talk to those leaseholders to see how we can come to some type of consensus of whether it be in the modern age, sell the properties to those owners, and so there is that record keeping issue, as well as, and work with obviously the individuals in the state that oversee it, but then maybe take those proceeds and reinvest it into something that would allow the district an easier way of record keeping, as well as a way of generating its own revenue from those particular assets.
Say that again.
Okay. So really, how is it that the city council and the school board will be able to work together with respect to the issue we have with 16th section land, and to get some type of resolution to where those properties can either be sold and the proceeds reinvested into something that generates revenue for the school district, or find some other type of structure to allow more revenue to be derived from those properties?
I think the mayor asked me to speak on this subject. The 16th section leases that are actually in effect, that were in effect before we had the 1890 Constitution, are protected by the federal Constitution under the Contracts Clause. And the state cannot come in and enact a new law that voids a contract that was in existence, that it entered into voluntarily itself. It violates the U.S. Constitution. So there's not anything our legislature can do to take that valid lease away from a leaseholder. And the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and the United States District Court for the Northern District of Mississippi has said that a owner before the 1890 of a 16th section lease can subdivide that lease, and that doesn't cause a void of the pre-1890 lease. It's just subdivided it like a sublease, if you want to call it that, and that you just have to make an effort to divide the original lease amount in a pro rata way that's fair to all based on the acreage and how it was divided. So I guess the city council would probably be thrilled to talk to the legislature about canceling the 16th section leases so that the property owners would own it outright in fee simple, and I think that would generate more ad valorem tax dollars and probably prompt more development. But I don't think the Secretary of State will go down without a major fight on that. They never have, and they've never indicated any interest in canceling any 16th section leases. So I'd be happy to participate, but I'm not optimistic. I don't know if I've answered your question.
You have, and I guess that's just, starting the dialogue to see, and it may not get anywhere, but I just believe that, with respect to how this district and its 16th section has been, has really been constrained as far as the revenues that it can produce from those particular leases, is that maybe there would be a solution that would be on the table for us that may not necessarily be feasible for other areas of the state in their land. So if we could just work possibly to look at what is available, and if there's maybe a fight to be had, look into it and see whether it's worth taking, just so that it will help not only the individuals who have those properties, but also the tax assessor, the school district, and everyone else involved.
Well, it is true that the Columbus 16th section leases are completely unique. I don't think there's another county or municipality anywhere in the state that has the renewable forever provision in their 16th section leases. And the legislature did that before the 1890 Constitution to encourage development. So you may be right that there's an opportunity to just cancel it because ours is totally unique. And I would think the mayor and city council would probably be interested in, doing that. The amount of money it generates is not that great, and being a 16th section landowner myself, it's not that easy to borrow on the 16th section property, and I think it would free up and maybe cause banks to lend more liberally or at lower rates. So all of that would be good for the city and the district.
Just for clarification purposes, is the 16th section land, is that the actual field, or is that the bleachers, or is the entire?
Is it what? I'm sorry.
Is the 16th section land, is it entire bowl, or is it just?
It's a whole part of most of downtown Columbus. All the banks, churches, a whole lot of residential real estate. I'm not a real estate lawyer, but if you picture a big old square divided into sections, the 16th section is just off in a corner of every, how many?
1 mile by 1 mile.
So it's
on the other side of Lee Park, I believe. The general areas around where the other side of the park, and it goes down south a good ways, goes over to the other side of the W, and goes to the river. So, but it's a mile by a mile by a mile.
Mr. Lunn, if I might, I think that what Councilman is asking, when you made the statement earlier about the Magnolia Bowl, parts of it was 16th section, I think he was asking, was the whole bowl 16th section?
The whole bowl, the 16th section. And all of the bowl is, it's not under the federal lawsuit. It hasn't been freed from that. It's managed by the trustees, not by the city council.
Just a point of interest, several years ago, Mr. Dunn was involved in this process when on the YMCA board, we had made a proposal to take the bowl and develop it into a park and a skating rink, and it went so far as to actually getting partial agreement from the YMCA board and the school board. And at that time, Mr. Dunn went to the Secretary of State, who was Dick Malpas, I think, and he nixed the deal. He said you can't give it to them for $1 in a deed or anything like that. It has to be sold for fair market value, which would have prohibited us from entering into that agreement. So, or leased, yeah. Right.
Yeah, Mr. Malpas said that we had to have it appraised and it would have to be leased for fair market value. And I will say that there are cities all around the state that, well, you look at Jackson, some of the car dealerships on I-55 are on 16th section land. So just because it would have to be leased does not mean that something productive, because you can enter into a long-term lease. So I think that it could be developed if you found the right people that wanted to do the right thing.
So my next question would be, one of the things that we try to do, and Mr. Shannon spoke earlier about our recruiting efforts to recruit teachers into the district. But we do understand that we have a quality of life issue or opportunity here in the city. What plans does the city have to come up with ideas or to implement new capital projects, perhaps, that will increase the quality of life for our residents here in Columbus and also allow us to attract other people into the district, whether that be businesses or people to come in and be teachers within our district?
We are always talking about quality of life at our board meeting, and a lot of things enter into that. First of all, I think we talked about is the school system. Everybody wants to see more retail development. We're working very hard on that right now. Columbus gets pretty high marks on a lot of things. I mean, contrary to what some opinion, public opinion would be, we get pretty high marks as we go to MML. The mayor was telling us this afternoon about all the comments are made about how beautiful the city is and how much work has been put into the inner city and all to try to make it better. So, we're in a pretty good place. I mean, we're 2 hours from Birmingham. We're 2 hours from Jackson. We're 2.5 hours from Memphis. And, I mean, you're not far from being able to go some pretty good activities. So it's a pretty good place to live already. I think we need some more housing, improved housing. We're annexing or in the process of annexing some areas right now that's going to give us some developable land, which we hope might get some housing projects going there. But this is a concern for us, and it's a concern for every city in the state of Mississippi, quality of life. But the school system is the #1 driving force with that, and very important for us to be sure that we're on a par with everybody else in this area.
So does the council have any other questions of the board?
I know you all just had your superintendent search, and I think the deadline that you gave the public that we were supposed to have one by the 1st, if I'm not mistaken. But my question tonight is, what are you looking for in a superintendent for the district? What qualities does the next superintendent need to have to fulfill what the district is expecting from it?
So I'll start out by answering your question like this first. There was never a deadline given by this board. I think that was hearsay or something that may have come from someone else, but as it goes, after we reached a certain point in our process, everything else was to be determined. So we do not have a drop-dead date. With regards to what were we looking for in the characteristics of our superintendent, for the job posting that went out nationally, there are about maybe 13 different characteristics that we listed. I could read a few of them for you if you'd like. Number one, possesses excellent people skills, presents a positive image of the district, and will listen to input and make a decision when necessary. Number two, possesses the leadership skills required to respond to the challenges presented by an ethnically and culturally diverse community. Number three, inspires trust, has high levels of self-confidence and optimism, and models high standards of integrity and personal performance. Number four, is a strong communicator, speaking, listening, and writing. Number five, is able to delegate authority appropriately while maintaining accountability. And number six, has experience in the management of district resources and knowledge of sound fiscal procedures. And there's about 7 others. I can share this with you after the meeting, but pretty much, we were looking for someone to come in and help take the district from where it is right now to move us forward. And that encompassed being able to do a multitude of things.
Madam President, I want to commend you all on that study. It was an awesome job, and we really do appreciate it. But I have a statement. We have just entered into a $5 million bond issue that would help the beautification that Mr. Boggs was talking about early, Councilman Boggs was talking about early, to beautify the city, to help, hopefully that would help bring people inside the city. We're going to have $750,000 for each ward. So all of it's not just going in one portion to beautify the entire city with sidewalks, paving, curb and gutter, ditching, whatever we can get out of that $750,000 to try and help get people inside. That's what we are going to do. Thank you.
Board, are there any other questions that we have for the council? Mrs. Fisher?
Mr. Lewis asked a question earlier regarding businesses and industries that are coming to the city of Columbus, what you could do to promote investment. I'd like to ask the same question, but not with a focus on investment as in a financial investment, but involvement as in business and professional involvement with our school district, our children in particular, our students. How can you help, or will you consider making sure that current businesses and industries, as well as any of those that are looking at coming into the city, realize that an investment also would involve them allowing our students to shadow in a professional environment? I think this school district, this board, agrees that we don't want to just graduate workers. We want to graduate people who are totally involved in the businesses of the city at every level, from ownership to financial investors, to the CFOs, CEOs, workers as well, and not just in the mechanical or technology industries, but also in the medical industries. The opportunities are there. You generally get the news first. You have those opportunities to welcome these people to consider Columbus and offer them the strengths, let them know what strengths the city has to offer. So I'd like for you all to consider making sure that when you think of businesses giving a return to the city, that that return is not just a dollar, but time, helping to bring up student achievement, helping to make whole, good citizens. Thank you.
Board, if there aren't any other questions or concerns, Mr. Spears?
One final question. One thing we've echoed over and over is, producing income for the district, looking at different avenues, how to do that. One question I have is, how can the city work with the council, the city work with the school board with respect to our Lee property? I know there's been some brownfield testing there in phase 1, but as far as making that a marketable piece of property when it comes to, putting a hotel there, putting a Sam's Club there, anything that would be long-term in its nature, as well as increase property values or hold property values, and of course be a benefit to the city itself, not just benefit to the school district. So how can we collaborate, get on the same page as to how we might be able to come together with some type of way of reaching out to prospects or others that might consider that particular piece of property for development moving forward?
I believe there's another identity that should be here at this meeting this evening, which is the link. And I think a lot of businesses that is coming in is basically coming in through the link. You know, Mr. Higgin and his entire group. And I think we need to sit down with him and talk about what's coming in. And he can maybe direct us and help us in what you is asking.
You know, Councilman Mickens has a point, but I think the meeting tonight speaks volumes of the direction we want to go in this community. I mean, we have two bodies sitting here discussing some issues inside the community that hadn't been talked about in quite some time. And one thing Joe Higgins told us in a meeting with the mayor and council is, gentlemen, you got to give us something to sell. Well, we're here today saying we're willing to work together to do whatever it takes to sell this community. And again, I just think, you know, as far as one particular property, as you just mentioned, we're going to do everything we possibly can to do whatever we can to move the city forward. But again, I just think from this day forward, us coming together and hopefully in the near future, us sitting down together, it just speaks volumes of how concerned we are about the community and that we're willing to do whatever it takes to make not only this school district the best, but the city of Columbus the best. I know that's not really what you asked, but I think it's the beginning to get those questions asked. So, thank you.
Well, we do, again, appreciate you coming and sharing with us. And, we understand at the end of the day, our focus is on making sure that the students in the Columbus Municipal School District, that they're receiving a quality education that will serve as their foundation to take whatever career path they choose to take to be successful. And that's what we're here, and we're committed to making sure that that happens. We welcome your assistance in helping us to do that. We welcome your partnership. We welcome the opportunity to collaborate with you on any ideas and opportunities that may come available to help us to facilitate that. But that is our mission. That is our goal. We stand ready and willing and able to make that happen. So if there's nothing else from the board, if there's nothing else from the council, Mr. Turner?
It's always good to come talk. Now, we had some questions that wasn't answered. So I think we can make a decision on when will the next time that we meet. So we could go back, review the questions, and have some solid answers for next time.
Well, I think on behalf of the board, for us, we would like to make sure that we have captured your questions down correctly and that we can share those questions back with you. And we can kind of go from there to see when another time or what forum may be best to answer those questions. So I can't tell you that tonight, but we would certainly like to see what the questions are and be able to exchange them. And so we can figure out how we can do that. Just pulling this meeting off tonight, Mr. Turnage and Mr. Dunn, I mean, there's a lot of legal legwork, there's a lot of logistics that has to take place. So I think there's a reason why these type meetings don't happen that often, because there's a lot that has to go into making this happen. But we do welcome an open line of communication with the City Council. And we do welcome your assistance in helping us to drive student achievement upward. Mrs. Spears.
And I completely agree that it's necessary with two not just to, but throughout the community, organizations to work together, because it's still one effort that we're all trying to get, achievement from. But, obviously, one of the main issues that we, centered around was how can we work to get the community and different things involved. And I think that as we set a time in the future that maybe we have some type of platform, whether it be submitting questions before the meeting so that we would be able to be prepared for them, whether it be questions for the school board, questions for the city council from the community, that we work to have some mechanism in place to allow that to be possible.
If there is nothing else that comes before this board, I do by here declare the Columbus Municipal School Board special meeting of July 8th, 2014 adjourned.